Hey there guys, welcome back to my channel for a very different video than I usually post. So many of you may know, if you watched my life update video, that I just recently moved to Valencia, Spain. It is such a beautiful city and I'm so excited to move here with my family. And the video that I posted announcing that I was moving to Spain was literally all edited, uploaded, and about to be posted when the floods happened in Spain. And I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for all of those who reached out to see if me and my family were okay, and yes, we're all good and we're safe here in Valencia. Now, I had just moved to Valencia 2 weeks before the floods happened. I was in London when the devastating flash flood happened, which is now referred to as Dana.
Fields are inundated. Mud caked on roads, pavements and buildings. Shops, homes and businesses have been devastated.
The death toll from flash flooding in Spain has risen to 155.
Locals are now advised to hunker down and wait for the next stage in what is an unprecedented natural catastrophe.
Very slowly, the entire picture of the disaster is emerging here in Valencia.
Now, since I was out of the country, I didn't really know what the effect was besides what I was seeing on social media. I've now been researching and also talking to many people in the city, trying to figure out what happened, because to be honest, I just didn't understand how a flash flood could happen that fast. But for all of those who had the same questions that I did, I want to share what I know about Dana and how the flash floods happened. So on this day, there was expected to be a storm, and I remember my parents actually telling me, like, things are getting canceled because it's raining a lot, but it must just be because people aren't used to rain around here, because as you guys know, I'm from Miami. We're used to hurricanes, we're used to big tropical storms, so like rain doesn't really affect us at all. So our first instinct at any point of protection of the city, we were just thinking people weren't used to it raining as much as we're used to down in Florida. But that was proved to be very naive, because there ended up being a year's worth of rainfall in 8 hours here in Valencia. Unfortunately, this massive amount of rainfall caused the levees to fail on the Turia River. That caused many homes to be destroyed on the southernmost part of Valencia, as well as many towns in and around Valencia. Unfortunately, the death toll is now over 200, and with many people still missing, the death toll can be even higher than that. As you can imagine, it's been a very devastating time for not only the city of Valencia, but also the country of Spain. I want to answer some questions that I had and that you might have as someone who's just viewing it in the media, because when I was in London, I did not understand the extent of what was happening besides the things that I saw on the news and on TikTok videos. So I want to clarify a few things that I have learned since now being back in the city. A myth that I've been seeing on TikTok is that the entire city is ruined, and that is not true. It was the Turia River, so it was when it overflowed the southernmost part of Valencia. When you picture the iconic tourist attractions of Valencia, like the Ciudad de las Artes y las Ciencias, or the beach, or the Plaza de Ayuntamiento and the city center, that has not been affected by the flood other than the rainfall. I've actually seen a few posts on social media of people thinking that many of these places are no longer there or no longer exist, but that's not true. It did not impact the city center, and that's also why I was very confused when I was seeing it in the media, because my parents were telling me that they were fine and sending me videos of the city looking completely fine, but then I was also seeing videos on the news that Valencia looked completely destroyed. Valencia is a bigger city than you think. So for those of you wondering where it affected Valencia, it affected the southernmost part of Valencia, as well as the southwest towns and villages in and around Valencia. Another question I had was, why was it so devastating and how did it happen so fast? So there was only predictions of a storm. So like I said, when I spoke to my parents earlier that day, they knew it was going to rain later that day, but no one knew to the extent that it would. At least it wasn't told to the citizens of Valencia until 8 p.m. that night. At 8 p.m. was when the authorities set a citywide alert telling people that there were flash floods, and by then towns had already been flooded at 6 p.m. So this did not help anyone, and that is why so many people were trapped in their cars, in their houses, and had nowhere else to go. If you could imagine putting yourself in their shoes, they were just going along their normal daily life, going to work, going to pick up their kids at school, and thinking it might rain later today, but had no idea the extent of the floods that were about to happen. That is why not only was it a natural disaster, but also a catastrophe for the nation. Therefore, as you can believe, many of the Valencian citizens are very upset. There's actually a protest outside happening right now the entire city has banded together and they are protesting the government for their lack of resources to help them rebuild the city. As many of you can probably imagine or have experienced at some point in your life, when there is devastation, there also is a community that comes together stronger than ever to rebuild what they lost. And because of that, over 100,000 volunteers have helped throughout this last week, and they're starting to limit who can go into Ground Zero and also how many donations they get because they've been so overwhelmed by the support of the community. For those of you, if you are local to Valencia, you can go to the Ciudad de las Artes y las Ciencias website and pick a slot and volunteer there for different things that they need. Those of you who are not local to Valencia and still want to help and make a change, you guys can donate to some of these places that I'm going to put up on the screen, and I'm also going to leave some links in the description for places that are accepting donations and resources that may help us rebuild the city. Now, it's a bit dangerous to go volunteer and help clean up the area that was affected because there are obviously sicknesses and injuries could happen when it's a very, very destructive zone. But my dad and I feel this call to help, and we say that we cannot be sitting here in the city center where it was not affected and know that just a few kilometers away there are people in desperate help. So my dad and I volunteered to go help and clean up tomorrow, and I want to bring you guys along to show you guys some footage of what it's looking like here in Valencia. So we just came back from the store and we got some clothes that can get dirty, some shoes that can get destroyed, and also got some brooms as well as rags, cleaning disinfectants, masks, anything we might need to help out. We're hoping that we can make just a tiny bit of change and also be a bit more aware of what is going on by going in and helping to clean up the site. A little disclaimer, the purpose of this video is not to exploit what is happening here in Valencia. I just wanted to share and answer a few questions that I had when I was seeing what was going on here on the news, and I also want to bring you along so that you could see what I'm seeing firsthand here in the city, as well as giving you guys a resource to help if you feel led to give. With all of that being said, no matter what you believe in or what your religion is, I just have to say I am so thankful to God for having his hand over me. So I just feel a call of gratitude from the Lord, and therefore that's why I feel so called to help right now. And I feel so lucky that my family and I are safe and protected, and you guys should also be thankful if you're the one watching this on the screen and not the ones actually living it right now. So let's go help and volunteer rebuilding the city of Valencia.
Good morning. Today is the day that we are going to go help with Dana. So we went to the Ciudad de las Artes y las Ciencias because that is where they are organizing for all of the volunteers to dispatch from. So here they give you plenty of supplies and everything you might need throughout the day of helping at the village that they take you to. When we got on the bus to drive through the city, it was the first time that I had really experienced it firsthand and seen the effects of what was on the side of the roads. It honestly looked like a war zone, seeing the cars all destroyed from the debris and seeing all the damage that was done through the force of those floodwaters. Today we were in Masanasa, which is one of the areas that was heavily impacted by the floods, and our specific bus took us to a sports recreation area. You could tell that kids had been playing there literally the week before. Everything was just full of trash and the entire area was covered in mud. Now, we all had different duties throughout the day, and mine at first was trash cleanup. So I cleaned up all the trash that I physically could pick up because of course there are so many giant pieces of trash and debris that would have to be picked up by a tractor. A big problem they're facing is that the waters that flooded were muddy waters, so therefore all of this mud and dirt is hardening into this clay that is really hard to clean up, especially with manpower and people just scooping it up with shovels and brooms. There's limited resources and machinery that are helping them clean up this difficult clay. I found it extremely difficult to walk through these areas because of the clay. It was almost like quicksand. If you stood there a second too long, your boots would get stuck, and it would take effort to get your boots out of the mud. Now here I just kind of wanted to walk around the area and see what it looked like after the flood. You could see the water line on the walls where the flood reached, which was really crazy to think about. They also offered us some free food and drinks, which was so kind, and everyone was so attentive to make sure all the volunteers were well taken care of. When we first got there were piles and piles of trash, so our next task was trying to clear out that trash to make space for more trash, to be honest. Something I kept thinking about was how many cars were on the road at the time of the disaster. As you could see in that pile of cars, there were so many that were not only ruined by debris, but just because of the force of the floodwaters got completely destroyed. My next task was clearing up this playground. When we first started, there was absolutely no way someone could enter into there, and by the time we finished, we created a few little pathways for people to get in there and clean up some more trash. My dad kept reminding me that every task that you complete is something that someone else does not have to, and that was helping us get through the day, because in the grand scheme of this disaster, cleaning up a few pieces of trash does not feel like you're doing much, but all of those tedious little tasks did really make a difference in cleaning it up. These clips show the Department of Records that were destroyed from the waterline down, and all of the cabinets that were completely drenched in mud. I'll explain more in a minute, but my dad and I also picked up 10 pressure washers that we were able to donate to the volunteers that were working.
Hey there guys, so since I've gone to volunteer, I have been thinking a lot about what I experienced there, and also the stories that I heard from people who were working there, as well as just what I witnessed with my own eyes. It's going to take months of work and probably years until these neighborhoods look like they used to. Some things I've noticed is, like, in the United States, we're so used to natural disasters because we have so many hurricanes in Florida and Georgia and tornadoes, and even though they are very devastating, we have the resources to rebuild, and it's just not an uncommon occurrence for people to get together and have the resources lined up to help clean up these areas. But I noticed here in Spain, because it's such a catastrophe and it's nothing they've ever really seen before, it's really hard to find the resources and find the manpower to clean up these neighborhoods. Everyone's using brooms and shovels and buckets, and that's really it. Just a whole lot of people with brooms and buckets, and every single person who's going to help is making a difference in the community. My family personally helped gather some donations from a foundation, so we were able to get about 10 pressure washers that we could give to the people who are dispatching other people to go help clean. So it's steps like that that are really going to make a difference, because a pressure washer is going to do a lot more than a shovel can in a shorter amount of time. But yeah, that's just something I took away, is how much needs to be done, because there was so much that was impacted by these floods. Now I'm making this video as awareness to share with you guys who live in other places, or maybe have only seen this in the news, and see what is happening here in Valencia and how you can help and contribute if you would like to. So I'm going to leave all the links down below in the description if you want to research a bit more, or you want to help and donate anything you can. It's truly so devastating to see, and witnessing it firsthand was something that I haven't forgotten about since I was there. And I know that I wasn't even in the worst disaster zone, so I can't even imagine the people that have been directly impacted by this. And my family and I are going to do all we can to help in this time of need. With that all being said, if you have any more information or would like to share anything in the comments, or if you have other resources to help here with the Dana, then please comment them down below. If you also want to help me spread the awareness of what's going on here in Valencia, how it happened, and also what you could do to help, you can feel free to share this to anybody who might want to see it. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having the best day. I promise we'll get back to normal videos very soon, but I did want to make this important video. I know, different than anything I usually post about, but I hope you learned something from this video. See you in the next one.